Hi, I'm Brandon, and welcome to Nature Meets Paper, the place where we go on an adventure to discover the world of marine biology. Today we're going to go on a new adventure to go with my regular videos. If you noticed, my regular videos have a green thumbnail. That's for the science portion. This is going to be our new video series that's going to have blue thumbnails. It's going to be focused more on the art behind how I do all of my art, because I know a few of you requested to see how I do it. I just want to let you know that I'm not professionally trained at all. This is going to be a video series that's going to be a little more relaxed. It's not going to be as scripted, and I just wanted to let you know that I practice a lot. I do a new painting every single week, so that practice helps me with my skills, and I experiment a lot to see what works best for me. Are you ready? Let's dive in. I don't show how I get my initial drawing on my canvas or watercolor paper. I do my initial drawing on tracing paper, then use carbon transferred paper to transfer a line drawing to my canvas. I do this for a few reasons. First is that I don't like to erase on my canvas or watercolor paper. Second is that by the time I'm painting, I've gone over the shapes and lines and the directions of the flow 3 times. This repetition allows me to naturally flow with the paint in the direction of the details. I'd also like to say make sure your drawing is correct before adding paint. Paint can fix many things, but it can't fix proportions. And proportions are a big deal when you're trying to draw realistic nature or realistic things. This koi painting had tons of detail in it, causing me to paint in a little bit different style than I normally do. I am left-handed, and I always start with my paintings with the background first. That way I can work on the background and then work on my subject. I start in the top right corner and then work my way down to the bottom left. This makes it so I'm not running my hand over wet paint. I work with a small brush when I'm using close details, leaving a ring or a margin around the subject. Then I fill the rest in with a large brush. It is like decorating cookies. You start with an outline, then you flood with icing, but in this case we are using paint and not sugar. The thing to remember when painting is to get the values correct. Make sure your darks are dark enough and your lights are light enough. If you get this right, you don't need to worry about getting the exact color from your reference photo. It'll still look really good. For these koi, I started with my brightest colors like reds and oranges, then I work to my light yellows of the body. The reason for doing this is so that I can get a value of reds. I want to make sure I don't fill in space with the wrong color. For bright oranges and reds, it is best to have them on a base of white because they can bleed into other colors, and if you have them on a dark background, they'll be a darker color. This just ensures that they're the brightest colors possible. I also try to stick with similar colors. I find it easier to work in similar colors, so I don't have to mix those same colors again. I will find all the colors that are similar and place them on the koi. Even if the color isn't the final color I want, I will place it. I can always go back over it with a glaze to lighten or darken the color. I glaze using a little bit of water with my acrylic paints or glazing medium. Just be careful when using glazing medium. It is more translucent than using water, but it also has a high gloss, and that might not be what the effect you are going for. I usually try to work from mid-tones to my darks. This helps push the subject back into the background. It is easier for me to work from lights to darks and then add my final highlights at the end. How do I know if my colors are dark enough? I check my values with my reference photo. I often try to isolate colors and values with my hands. So you can do this at home. You can close one eye, make a small hole with your hand, and then you can look through this hole until you can see only a color swatch, and then that gives you the color. So this gives you the general tone of the color and the general feeling, so you can mix different aspects onto it. I recommend, if you're new to painting, grab a color wheel and see where that color kind of falls on the color wheel, and you can mix your colors to make that one color that you just saw. Then I can mix my paints to watch what I saw. You can also hold your paintbrush in the air to align it with the color of your reference photo. The paint on the brushes, or the paint on the bristles, should match what is on the screen or reference. Make sure it's lit well from behind if you're working from a computer monitor. The backlight will make it appear darker. And to get the fine details, I use a long, thin brush. I used to think those tiny little bristled brushes would be best for fine detail. It does make sense, but the paint separates the bristles, causing it to be less detailed. So use a long, thin bristle brush for fine details. You can see me use this brush for several spots on this piece. As I work, I refer to my reference photo more than I look at my painting. In the beginning, I want to make sure that I'm familiar with the space, the shape, and the value of the piece before it goes onto the canvas. But by the time I am working with my highlights, which is typically at the end, I don't use my reference photo as much. At that point, my midtones and darks are set. I need to decide as an artist what my painting needs. I do refer to the photo a bit, but not as much as the beginning. I add highlights, then finish the eyes last. Many people like doing the eyes first, which is fine. Remember, I'm not trained in art at all, but I do like the reveal of the character in the animal's eyes. This is the moment where everything comes together and you give that painting life. I really enjoy that moment. Also, remember to let your layers dry. It is not like Photoshop where you can click a button to add a layer or to undo. If the layer you are working on becomes tacky or doesn't glide nicely, it is time to stop. The nice thing with acrylic paint is that it dries fast. This gives me time to look at my painting from several feet away, just take it in, see what it needs, and make decisions that way. I can also work on other aspects of my business during these rest periods, and then finish up my painting when I come back to it. I will call this painting finished. Thanks for watching this video. It was fun trying something new. It feels less scripted and it feels a little more personal, which is kind of fun so that you can kind of get to know me and how I think a little bit better. I will do my best to put out these videos on Tuesdays. My regularly scheduled videos come out on Saturday mornings, so I'll try and get these videos out by Tuesday. But these videos are a little harder for me because it's less scripted, and I have to wait till my painting is actually done to get it done for you, which means some of my weekends are a little bit busy, but I will do my best to get it out by Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed this series called How to Art. I have limited edition t-shirts that I created called Dock the Halls. It features a harbor seal with a Santa hat, some Christmas lights. Up for sale on teespring.com. You can look for that in the description below. I'm also going to be creating and selling Christmas ornaments. So if you want one of those, send me a message. You can find my social media down below. I use Instagram quite often. You can find me there and request a Christmas ornament. Alright, be happy, be silly, be creative. I will see you in our next adventure.